All right, I wanted to talk about 4 weapon combos with the Blunderbuss that I think is actually going to be really strong and aren't really being talked about, and just kind of explore the capabilities of the new weapon in New World. First things first, I know there's a lot of Warhammer Blunderbuss videos. I do think Warhammer Blunderbuss is a pretty strong combo, but I'm not going to be talking about that today. So first things first, we're going to be talking about the Great Axe Blunderbuss. Now, please ignore some of the gems I have and everything. I'm using PTR gear the best that I can. But yeah, so this is what we're gonna be rocking. It's the obviously Blunderbuss and Great Axe. The core of this combo is going to be the capability of locking down and chasing and using the raw damage of both these weapons and the strength build to be able to kill targets. This could be going into enemy backlines and wars and jumping on healers and mages, or peeling for your own teammates, as it has a decent amount of single target lockdown that you can also use with AoE damage. I think this build's really strong. The basic combo is you're going to be throwing a grav wall on the target, and then you'll be using your Blunderbuss to drop some AoE, cling onto them and continue the route, throw the net to slow them, and then you can also Maelstrom to pull them in, and then if you need to, either in or out, you can use charge. There's also a lot of flexibility with this, because if you do go in and you don't want to just chase, you gotta get out, you can also use the net to pump you back. But yeah, so the basic combo be like this: Gravwell, boom, 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 and then you can either Maelstrom, charge with this. You can slow, or you can use it to get out and kind of weave in and out. So that's the core combo. For attributes, obviously, like I said before, PTR gear limited, but it will be a 300, 200 build. Get a little bit better gear. You can get to 300, 160, and use 40 food, 40 con food to get to the 200. That'd be the core build with this. I don't really think going past 300 on these types of builds is ever really worth it, so that'd be the core build. In terms of attributes, perks, this is what we run on our Great Axe. I'm not going to walk through everything, because you can kind of skim through. The big things obviously are charge. We take the first perk. Maelstrom, we'll take all of them to get this no reprieve with everything else. And then Gravwell, we're just going to be taking Gravwell, no extra perks. We're going to use other things with the haste and empowerment and all that kind of stuff on the Great Axe and the crit to make that work. And with the Blunderbuss for this build, these are the abilities that I chose. Obviously, the net with the cooldown reduction, the claw shot, and the splitting grenade. The one other option, if you wanted to, there's two things you could do. You could sub out the net, and I would sub it out for 1 to 2 abilities if you don't like the net shot. One would be shrapnel blast, just more damage, and all the other fun things you get from these perks if you wanted to just get more raw kind of DPS or give you a bit more AoE with it. Or you could also take blast shot because of the lingering flow, get that 25% movement speed bonus. This would also help you a lot in terms of locking down or chasing targets and make it really hard to escape a user of this build. So that's weapon combo number 1. Alright, so next build is actually going to be the Sword Shield and the Blunderbuss combo. This is a tank build that I think is being undervalued, because people kind of look at the Blunderbuss without the hard CC that Warhammer has and kind of brushes off away from tanks. But I actually think this will be really strong with a leadership tank build, almost like an off-tank build. But I think this will be really good on points. You have a lot of capabilities with this. Kind of go in, be on the point, have your defiant stance up, whatever, all this kind of shield bashes. And then also when you're fighting on a point, you can do this, your kind of AoE shots, and then also this, which I will talk about in a moment why this is so important. But this is really strong, because Blunderbuss, it helps with like a lot more like being an off tank because of the natural fortifies you get with some of the perks on the weapon. And like your focus is going to be like getting your AoEs down with your Blunderbuss, and then swapping to this so you have your leadership out, and kind of supporting your teammates in the war. So get a bit more of a like less hard tank and like more off tank off support that I think is also going to have a lot of capabilities. In a war, I wouldn't have like 10 of these guys by any means, but a couple of them with the leadership tank builds that you might run for some of your kind of DPS groups, I think is really, really strong. So the build for this, obviously, like I said, we're going to be going leadership. I'm running Leaping Strike, just because I think the slows are really good. It's good for locking down, and I think it also gives you a bit of capabilities with maneuvering CC on a point. So I just overall think it's a strong ability that people underestimate for leadership. You also going to be having Shield Rush and Defiant Stance. These ones are obvious ones. Allows you as well, if you go PvE, to be able to taunt, but also just kind of upping your upping your defenses, having some CC and kind of lock down. And then you'll be going for the Blunderbuss. You're going Shrapnel Blast, just again kind of a general AoE blast that has a lot of good perks on it that people don't necessarily recognize, that I actually think will be really strong for point fighting. Splitting Grenade, of course, AoE damage, it helps with fighting on point. And then Blast Shot, and I talked about this before. Why is Blast Shot important? Because you're going to be lacking the hard CC of a Warhammer, actually having the lingering flow is really nice on the point. And the reason why is not only is it like a general just like haste boost on the point for your teammates, but just allows you guys to have a lot more flexibility with how you want to fight on a point because of the haste. Having 25% movement speed bonus on a point allows you to really try to maneuver around, get to proper positions, get your AoEs and CCs down in the right spots, and not just get stuck in one clump, but have the capability of trying to get out with flexibility in how you do so. So this is something I recommend. Like, this build combo, in my opinion, is like, if there were like advanced classes in New World, this would definitely be one of them, because there's just a lot of technicality you have to use this for. But if you can execute it well, I think it's a really strong combo in making this build work. It would be really, really strong in wars. Next, this is a more PvE build, though there's definitely PvP capabilities, but this is Hatchet Blunderbuss. The main reason why I'm talking about PvE in this instance is because I still am a firm believer that Hatchet is the strongest PvE weapon. There's just with the self-healing and how quick it attacks and just the defy death in case you get CC locked. It's just really strong in the PvE sense. But these sync well, and like being in the face of the enemy and with like the fortifies and everything it gives you between the two, they just honestly have a lot of synergy in their playstyle, kind of be up in the face of things, but also maybe wanting to get in and out and bob and weave. So really good for solo content PvE. It can also work in PvP, though Hatchet has overall been kind of weak in PvP, so you got to actually have the skill to be able to use your Raging Torrent and everything to really lock down opponents, and like, or Feral Rush to really lock down opponents and be able to get abilities off. I honestly might even recommend going light armor if you go PvP with this, just so you can roll around and really have a high amount of like in and out mobility with attacking people. But the basic idea of this is that for PvE or PvP, you have your general just kind of AoEs, your claw shot to get in, your like, yeah, just double AoE, which is nice, like AoE DPS, which is like usually missing out for a Hatchet build. So you can get your AoE DPS out, you have the claw shot to get in, and of course your Hatchet, Berserk, and everything to really just kind of like get into the face of things. But it just offers a nice complementary AoE burst and some ability that just kind of syncs well with the Hatchet. In terms of the abilities, like you see and mentioned, Claw Shot, Shrapnel Blast, and Splitting Grenade, all the ones I recommend. We're going all in on all of those, and we're picking up some side perks and Unload. Just again, some general strong abilities for this. And then the Hatchet tree is also a very typical Hatchet tree. Going all in Berserker. I dropped Relentless Fury. Just personally, I don't heavy attack a lot with the Hatchet. But if you wanted to, you could. But I dropped that for critical throw, just for the 5% crit chance on all attacks, and then everything else in Berserker and getting Defy Death, and really just kind of being a menace in PvE content. Lastly, taking the step away from the strength builds, the final build I want to talk about is the Fire Staff and Blunderbuss combo. Now, a lot of people have been looking at Ice Gauntlet with Blunderbuss just because of the CC. They kind of go complementary with like the Blunderbuss DPS, or Void Gauntlet for the empowers and the lockdown for some of these abilities. But I actually think Fire Staff Blunderbuss is going to be the strongest kind of mage Blunderbuss build that I can see so far after kind of experimenting with a lot of these different builds. This is a raw damage build. And what I mean by that is it's used for annihilating points and clumps. This is definitely more of like a damage farm build for PvP, but I don't necessarily think you should just discriminate away from damage farm builds, because at the end of the day, you do need a lot of DPS on points to kill through tanks and kill through clusters. And this also does not mean that the damage cannot be on enemy backlines or in your backline or anything else, but this is a just raw DPS class. So we're going to be rocking is we have kind of a very typical Fire Staff. You have your abilities, Burnout for escape, though if you're really feeling risky, you could swap this out for another ability. And then we have kind of the AoE. We take mortar shot because you'll be more in range. You can kind of use mortar shot here, fire on points and everything. And then we actually took net shot here for the time being. The reason is the poison's really nice. To kind of put some DOTs down, you can kind of like use it just kind of in an area. You could swap out for some other things, but the other reason beyond just like the dot damage and the slows is it does again offer a little bit more ability. If you're being jumped by someone, you kind of net shot back, burn out away to be able to get away from people. So that's the thought there. In terms of the abilities, like I said, Pillar of Fire, Fireball, and Burnout are the ones we're taking. If you're feeling really risky, you could go swap out Burnout for Meteor Shower, or the other option is if you wanted to not go like a medium to light armor with this mage build and kind of be back, you'll be more in the thick of it with the Blunderbuss, you could swap out the Burnout or one of these other abilities and go Flamethrower and be more like heavy. Like you have to be full heavy armor for this, but you could be more like heavy armor on the point with the Flamethrower, have the Blunderbuss as substitute damage if you like run low on mana or anything like that, or need like to like change things up. So that's the other option. So there's a lot of flexibility with this build. The Flamethrower has been really strong recently, so that's why I want to bring it up. But for a more typical mage build, these are what you would run with it. For the Blunderbuss, like I said, I had the net shot because it's nice with the damage over time, as well as just kind of the mobility to get out. But again, you could sub this out for just another raw DPS like the Shrapnel Blast and just have a bit more AoE damage in the area. And then beyond that, we're going to take Splitting Grenade with everything. And then we're going to be taking Mortar Charge with everything. As you can also know, I didn't take any ultimate passives. A lot of these builds, some of them I took some of them I didn't. I do want to note that the main reason why is because I don't really think these are necessarily that good and are a bit more specific of when I would want to use them. But either way, those are the 4 best weapon combos that I could think of for the Blunderbuss for those who want to try it out and experiment. I think there's other ones that do work and can work well, but I think these ones have a really high skill ceiling that if you're able to accomplish, you can actually be a real menace with the Blunderbuss that I wanted to share with you guys. So let me know your thoughts on the builds below, and if there's anything you would change or talk about, feel free to tell me. But either way, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.